ezStorage team, Essential Capital.
Good evening, my name is Sado Rahman. I'm Jason Grab.
I'm Lauren Palaka.
Kyle Zhang. And I'm Mark Kramer. We're Team Essential Capital. Now we know it's the last presentation of the day, you guys are winding down a bit, but we want to excite you. We're talking about something that everyone here enjoys, making more money. So we were tasked with ezStorage, which is a storage facility, of developing a revenue management system that will enable us to determine the optimal pricing strategy to maximize revenue. So how would we go about doing this? First, we identify the opportunity. Then we hone in on key variables. And then we ran few elasticities. We combined all these things to build a solid foundation and solid recommendations, which we'll get into later. And before we get into that, let's just give you a little industry overview. So the storage industry itself is a $22.5 billion industry. It's a very high fixed cost industry. So what does that mean? There's not as many variable costs. Once you cover your fixed costs, everything else goes straight to the bottom line. And it's pretty competitive as well. As far as ezStorage was founded in 1987. They have 45 locations in the DC metropolitan area, and they really differentiate themselves through quality. They have air-conditioned units, and they really focus on security and cleanliness. Now I'm going to pass it on to Kyle, who's going to go more in depth on revenue management.
Thanks, Mark. Before I get started, have you guys ever wondered why when you board a plane, the person next to you paid a different price than you did? Well, I have. The simple reason is revenue management system. This system is found by the airline industry in the 1980s and has currently gained a lot of popularity. Now, the purpose of this system is to find that optimal pricing strategy in order to maximize revenue. Now, when I talk about revenue management system, I can look at it in two different angles. Let's do the first one. The first one is prospective customers. Those are the ones that we're trying to track. So, for example, we have a storage company who has 9 different units. And that if they charge $100 for each unit, they'll get 6 customers. So simple math, we get $600 total revenue. Now, what's the problem here? 3 of 9 units, a third of them are empty. So what companies tend to do in this situation is that they tend to lower the prices in order to maximize their utilization. So as you can see on the right side, say a company lowers the price from $100 to $60. What happens is that more customers will come and take more empty spots. However, that is not necessarily good for the company because in this case, the total revenue actually went down by $60. Now, this is where revenue management system comes in. The system combines the best of both worlds and charges different customers different prices so that they can combine the $100 customers along with the $60 customers in order to maximize the total revenue after all. Now, let's look at the next angle that we can look at the system from, which is our current customers. So say that right now all the units are filled in the storage company at $80 per unit. So now we have a total revenue of $720. Now what's wrong with this? Well, let's just assume that someone comes to the storage company and says, I really need a storage right now and I'm willing to pay $150. Now what happens is the company won't have enough spaces to offer to the customer. So what the revenue management system will do now is that they'll want the company to make their prices go higher, raise it to say $120. So now what happens is, unfortunately, the company will lose a couple of its customers due to the increase in price. But after all, the total revenue might be the same or even more than to begin with. And this time, if a customer who is willing to pay a higher price comes to the company has a free unit to offer. So after explaining to you what a revenue management system is, I'll move on to some of the variables that I talked about. So in the beginning of our project, there were so many things that had an impact on our project, such as the economy overall, to population density, to even the weather. Now we really wanted to focus on the ones that we thought were important and crucial to our project. And we came down with a few, namely utilization, seasonality, turnover rate, competitive pricing, unit type, location, as well as longevity. Now I'll pass it on to Warner, who will talk to you about price elasticity and how that's helped us run.
So just as a brief overview, price elasticity can be found by taking a percent change in quantity and dividing it by a percent change in price. This is significant in the storage industry because it will enable ezStorage to forecast how its customers will react to changes in their pricing. Just as an example, if users of a certain unit type type are found to have elasticity greater than -1 are considered price inelastic, so they're fairly unlikely to vacate their unit in response to a price change. Users who are found to have an elasticity of less than -1 are price elastic, and they're very likely to vacate their unit should their prices change. As you can see from the elasticities behind me, ezStorage's customers are extremely price elastic. To find these elasticities, we ran a regression using move-ins as a function of standard rent, utilization, and seasonality. Just for a brief background, facility A is considered a lower middle class area, and facility B is considered more of an upper middle class area. We then used these elasticities relative to unit type, square footage, and seasonality, and from there we were able to determine that elasticity increases as square footage increases. Now, we divided ezStorage's customers into two segments: potential customers, and those are the ones who we found elasticities for, and their current customers. We believe that ezStorage will benefit by examining their current customers more thoroughly with regards to their lengths of stay and reasons behind those stays. We further believe that the potential customers need to be considered relative to competitor prices and seasonality. From this diagram, we can see that we've divided ezStorage's current clientele into two buckets of customers: those who on any given date may face a rate increase, and those who on that same date do not face a rate increase. We believe it's important to consider how these customers react to those dates and those increases. Following that date, customers in both groups will either vacate their units or they'll stay in their units that they have previously been occupying. Those customers who vacate should be further analyzed with an exit survey. That exit survey will provide ezStorage with the reasons why those customers are vacating their units. Those customers who vacate for any reason besides price can be excluded from the elasticity analysis. Furthermore, we believe that customers should all take an entry survey when they first occupy their unit. In that survey, ezStorage can ask them how long they intend to occupy the unit. That way, when customers move out, ezStorage will be able to see if they're moving out around the time period they initially planned to leave, or if they're leaving for any other reason. We believe that those customers who intended to move out during or before the time period when the rate increase occurred can also be excluded from the elasticity analysis. Furthermore, by analyzing those customers whose rates did not increase, ezStorage can gain an idea of how many customers would have been likely to vacate their units, assuming that the trends held for both groups had there been no rate increase for anyone. From here, I'll pass it on to Jason, who will explain to you the foundation for our model.
Thank you, Leonard. Now, after we found the pricing strategy, we then needed to develop a foundation for our model. So first, we researched other revenue management systems, and especially the systems of our competitors, those being public storage and extra space. What we found is that they centered these systems on utilization. So as a result, utilization made up 1/2 of our model. Now, the other half of our model, since this is a revenue management system, we wanted to be focused on revenue, and therefore we put the revenue per square feet as the other half of our model. Now, as you can see in this graph behind me, we have revenue per square feet on the y-axis and utilization on the x-axis. And as your utilization increases, your revenue per square feet also increases, up to a certain point. Now, at this point, that would be your optimal revenue per square feet, and at that utilization rate would be your pegged utilization rate. Now, the reason you don't want 100% utilization is because in order to achieve 100% utilization, you have to drop your prices dramatically, and thus lower your revenue per square feet. Now, let's apply this to ezStorage. As you can see, our facility did, and from 2006 to 2007, and from 2008 to 2011, representing the pre-economic and post-economic crisis. And this represents a good economy and a bad economy. Now, as you can see, with both data sets, they have a linear upward trend, and therefore they haven't reached that peak revenue per square feet. Now, our recommendation to ezStorage is to project out or lower the prices to find this peak revenue per square feet, and thus they will have the pegged utilization rate that they should use, and then they should use the pricing strategy to find this utilization rate. Now I'm going to pass it off to Sahil to finish off with our recommendations.
Thank you, Jason. So we have 3 key recommendations. First of all, as Jason just mentioned, for the foundation of our model, we're utilizing utilization and revenue per square feet. So what we want ezStorage to do is find the ideal utilization rate per facility. Second, as we mentioned earlier, we determined the price elasticities for our customers. What we want to do now is determine price elasticities for all of ezStorage facilities, as well as break this down by unit type in order to provide a more accurate forecast. And finally, we will determine the price elasticities for their current customers through the collection of data, which will allow them to understand the effects of changes in rates will have on the customers. So throughout this presentation, we've told you about methodology, recommendations, and regressions. but what does this all mean for our client ezStorage? Let's assume that hypothetically one ezStorage facility has an average monthly revenue of $100,000. Based on our average forecast, we project that we can increase at ezStorage's monthly revenue by a total of 4%. So when you multiply that out, that's an increase of $4,000. Now when you expand this over the course of 1 year, that gives you a total of $48,000 just for one facility in 1 year. ezStorage actually has 45 operating facilities currently, and so when you extrapolate this number, it gives you over $2 million in projected revenue. Now we understand that this is a hypothetical number, but we hope this helps you understand the magnitude that the implementation of a revenue management system can have on our client ezStorage. So we're excited to see progression of this revenue management system within the company. With that said, we would like to provide a big thanks to our two faculty advisors, Dr. Robert Wendell and Dr. Corsi, who are in the audience with us here today, as well as our project champion, George Abdow and Chuck Ferraro, and all of the Quest staff and all of you for taking the time to listen to us. Thank you.